One of the first things you'll need to find when you're looking for an equation of a line is to know the slope between 2 points. There's a handy-dandy formula. Here's what it is. We use m, the letter m, to represent slope. It's not an s, so don't ask. M equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 divided by x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Most people remember this from a previous life as rise over run. Not sure who came up with the rise over run phrase, but everybody remembers it. So the way you're going to remember that it's y's on top and x's on bottom is that y's rhymes with rise, and they're both in the same spot in the fraction, both on top. So let's say I have two examples here. In the first example, I need to find the slope between the points 5, 1 and 2, 6. So I'm going to be plugging these numbers into that formula. So sometimes I will have my students go ahead and subscript. Remember, in a point it's x first, then y. So I will write above the points who is playing the role of x1 and who's playing the role of y1, so that I make sure I get everybody in my fraction, in my formula, correct. You don't have to do that, but you do have to be careful. So let's take a quick look. So m equals y sub 2, well, that's being played by the number 6. The minus sign is in the formula, so go ahead and get your minus down. And now I need y sub 1, being played by the number 1, divided by x sub 2, being played by 2, and minus x sub 1, 5. You can do a quick check. If you look up and down within your fraction, you should have the coordinates from a single point. So 6 and 2, right, those came from the same point. 1 and 5, those came from the same point. And then you just simplify your fraction. So 6 minus 1 is 5, and 2 minus 5 is negative 3. You could do a quick little check. By the way, that was your answer. To make sure you didn't do an arithmetic mistake on your sign by just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, plotting those points, and then I had 2, 6 up here. Okay, so this is the line that we're eventually after. So notice that my slope headed down to the right, which means it's negative, which is good because that's the kind of fraction that I got. And yes, typically we would write the negative sign with the top, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so let's take a look at our second example. M equals. If you don't have the formula memorized and your instructor is going to expect that you do, write it down with the x's and y's first every time you do the problem in your homework, so when it comes time for the test, it will be second nature. So y sub 2, go ahead and label them. It doesn't matter which point you make 1 and which point you make 2. If you do it in the other order, there will just be negative signs involved that will all reduce out at the end. Alright, so 8 minus 4, y sub 2 minus y sub 1 divided by x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Now careful here, x sub 1 is a negative number, but this minus sign is from my formula. This minus sign is because I had a negative 1. Notice I put it in parentheses then. So then the minus the negative is going to become plus a positive. So I have 4 over another 4. So that slope is 1. If you subtract in the other order, what you would have gotten is negative 4 over negative 4. That's still 1.